Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Kenzie's Krimes.
Milwaukee police found body parts in a North Side apartment.
Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
This is evil, what those people have done to me.
C says Heaven's Gate away team.
I'm not guilty.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Time for Kenzie's Krimes, where she brings a crime from the Chicagoland area to us, to you. And me and Case, the producer, don't know what story she's going to talk about. So we all just kind of sit around the campfire and listen to the story of murder, drama, intrigue, everything from Kenzie. And we all learn about it together. Or maybe we know a little bit about it, but you haven't still heard enough that Kenzie's going to bring us on this.
Now, I don't know if the family name Rouse means anything to you.
Not off the top of my head.
Not for me either.
Yeah.
It's kind of an infamous family. It started from the ground up. So let's talk about Bruce Rouse. He was born in 1936, and his family ran a successful gas station and car wash in Mundelein, Illinois. Brought up with a strong work ethic, Bruce worked various jobs before opening his own fleet of gas stations and service centers. He later married his high school sweetheart, Darlene, and the following year, their first son, Kurt, was born. Their daughter, Robin, was born 3 years later, and William, or known as Billy, we love Billies here in Chicago, as you know, he was the baby of the family, and he was born in 1964. So Bruce, the head of the household, he used his initial success to invest in other businesses, including real estate and cable television. And the family eventually settled into a 13-room, 6-acre mansion in the Chicago suburb of Libertyville.
Nice. And Libertyville is nice downtown to go drinking in, too. A lot of restaurants and bars down there.
After graduating from high school, Kurt moved into a cottage on the Rouse property, which allowed him to party and play his music as loud as he wanted without his parents. Kurt probably listened to Q101. Okay?
Yeah.
He was just like a rock kid, loved instruments. So he did butt heads with his parents. They actually changed their locks on their doors to keep them out.
Jeez.
But I mean, not like it was that much tough love. They're like, well, here's a cottage like on our property. So he was doing okay. A neighbor was quoted saying that Billy was actually the one who was kind of a troublemaker. So Kurt was like a rocker, had to live in the college, but Billy was the difficult one. A neighbor said that he had been bad news since nursery school.
Well, that's not nice.
No.
But also could be very telling to what's coming. But how can you be bad in nursery school?
Biting.
Probably burning animals.
Throwing little trucks at other kids. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ninja stars.
Nursery, I don't know if they're playing with fire yet, but they're playing with toys. They could be mean with those.
But kids at that age are like little gang members.
Yes.
They all just do what they want. They run into you in malls. They don't care.
Now, yes.
I love that. That's your example of a misbehaved child. They run into you in malls.
They expect you to move out of their way.
Also, that's what he thinks gangs do, bump into you in mall. You know, those gangs really need to settle down. They're bumping into me while I'm shopping at Woodfield.
They have the chutzpah to do what they want. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, my goodness.
They expect you to move out of their way.
Anyways, Billy's older brother, Kurt, believed that his brother actually had undiagnosed learning problems, and he believes that that's where some of the outlashes and problems with his family came from. So on June 6th, 1980, Bruce failed to show up to work, which is crazy. This is like the workaholic Bruce with his empire. It was a shock to his employees because he always arrived at 5:30 every single morning. When an employee called the house, Billy answered the phone. That's their youngest child. He said he was going to go check on his parents. The man on the phone said he heard pandemonium and screaming. At the Rouse house, first responders found a distraught Robin who pointed to the master bedroom and said, "Mom and Dad have been shot."
Oh, my God.
Investigators found a gruesome and bloody crime scene. Darlene had been shot in the face while she was lying in bed, and beside her husband, Bruce, lower jaw had been shot off. There's also signs of blunt force trauma as well as stab wounds. Both were pronounced dead at the scene. Kurt said he had been asleep in the cottage when Billy came down to tell him what had happened. Billy said, "Mom and Dad are dead." Kurt looked behind him, and there was a police officer with a gun aimed at his head. Kurt said it was like waking up into a nightmare. I'm going to pause right there.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine, like, pandemonium, your parents have been murdered in your home, and you're all home?
Yeah.
That's insanity.
Well, he was cranking the Offspring, so he couldn't hear it.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
All right, so when we come back, I can't wait to hear the conclusion of this story because it started off so positive and bright, and what a tragic turn it's taken. When we come back, Kenzie's Crimes continues.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101, back with Kenzie's Crimes, the continuation of the story of the Rouse family. So, Kenzie, give it to us. We need to know what happened here.
Yeah, so just a quick recap if you're joining us. You don't have to feel like you missed half the story. Bruce Rouse was a super successful business owner, lived in Libertyville in a 13-room mansion with his high school sweetheart, Darlene. They had 3 children, their oldest being Kurt. The middle child, Robin, was their daughter, and their youngest, Billy. Billy had always been a little bit of a troublemaker. Kurt was a rocker who definitely listened to Q101. And Bruce failed to show up to work one day, which led to the children finding out their parents had actually been murdered in their home while they were all home.
Good Lord.
The Rouse children told investigators they hadn't seen or heard anything suspicious on the night of the murder that was committed in their homes. However, there was a violent thunderstorm that happened that night that could have easily covered up the sound of gunshots.
Much like in Shawshank Redemption. When he's escaping the prison, he uses the thunder and lightning to hit the rock to get out in the tube and get out.
There you go.
Wow.
To hit the tube.
Well,
Is that what it was?
the 500 yards of the most vile stuff to freedom.
Now, this is their oldest son who lived in the cottage on the property, keep in mind. Kurt told police he was out with his girlfriend that night, and Robin said she had been at a school dance and hadn't returned until after midnight. Billy also claimed he was out with friends, arriving home late at night. Investigators initially theorized the murder could have been a robbery gone wrong because the Rouse's bedroom appeared to have been ransacked, and the children said the family seldom locked their doors. Keep in mind, this is set back when you didn't feel the need to do that.
I would have locked my doors in like the year 800. I don't understand
You
this
mean
time.
you would have rolled a rock in front of your door or whatever?
There probably weren't deadbolts in the year 800,
No.
but
Use a stone you would have rolled in front of your house.
I
Yes.
never could have slept if I knew someone could just walk in my house while I'm sleeping. Or my cave,
I know.
whatever it was.
Well, investigators worked the crime scene. Members of the extended Rouse family arrived at the house. When the Rouse children were asked to come down to the police station for further interviews, the relatives intervened and obtained legal counsel for them. About 6 weeks later, Billy asked to speak with investigators and see photos of the crime scene. After reviewing them, he said his mother's purse and jewelry box were both missing from the bedroom, as were his father's shotguns and rifles. 4 months after the murders, surveyor Jeffrey Carlson was working in the nearby Des Plaines River and nearly tripped over a huge garbage bag. He looked inside it and found a jewelry box and a woman's purse. He pulled the driver's license out of the wallet that was in the purse and saw the name Darlene Rouse and immediately realized these were the items that were stolen.
Wow.
After alerting authorities, investigators dredged the riverbed and also found the 4 shotguns and a rifle, which belonged to Bruce. With robbery no longer on the table, because here's the deal, they're realizing now it's set up to look like a robbery. Why would you throw away all of these valuable items if that was your point of going in the first place?
Yeah.
So now they're realizing this is a setup. It's set up to look like a robbery. The rumors swirled that the Rouses were somehow involved in organized crime.
Ooh.
Right? Because they got all these businesses, they seen murder, then it seemed like a setup. However, after doing a huge deep dive, they included the speculations were untrue. But it started going around that's like, okay, mob boss Rouse?
Yeah, what am I, a clown? What do I amuse you? I picture Rouse is over there with Joe Pesci.
You're playing all of his today.
Oh my goodness. Each Rouse child was actually awarded $300,000 on the life insurance policy when their parents passed away. Or I suppose were murdered. I guess you don't use the term passed away. Right?
They passed away peacefully with a gunshot wound.
Kurt moved to California and later Iowa, trying to put his traumatic past behind him. Odd move, I will say, to be like, I'm going to go out to California. You know what? No, let me do Iowa. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like that could also be traumatic.
Can you remind me of the year of this again? I'm sorry.
This all started in 1980.
I'm just trying to think of $300,000 from 1980 is probably like $17 million today.
Yeah.
So he could probably live the rest of his life on $300,000.
Well, especially if you live in, maybe he realized in California not as long, but in Iowa super long.
Yeah, stretch a dollar.
Amen.
Yeah.
So I think that was his game plan.
Stretch a dollar.
Well, each of them attempted to move on with their lives. It tragically was not through with them just yet. In 1983, Robin told authorities that she had suspected one of her brothers was responsible for her parents' murder. But the day before she was set to talk to the police, she got into an accident, lost control of her car in Racine, Wisconsin, and was in a fatal car crash.
Well, that sounds shady.
Right?
Yeah. She a dead Clinton friend?
After receiving his insurance payout and finishing high school, Billy actually moved to Key West, Florida. That was their youngest, right?
Oh, nice place.
Well, where he stabbed a man over a game of chess in 1984 and spent 60 days in jail.
Playing chess?
Playing chess. Now, listen, I almost grounded Tristan the other day when he beat me in chess because I felt like he did something really sneaky. And I'm like, that's not good character. But anyways.
Well, he didn't grab the knife from the kitchen, though.
Well, almost. Following his stint behind bars, Billy tried to straighten out. He actually got married, had a child, bought a house. Unfortunately, the couple fought frequently, and Billy kind of drowned his troubles in the alcohol. He found, some salvation in that. He blew through his money and ended up divorced. By the early 1990s, he was living alone on a houseboat and racking up numerous arrests for petty offenses.
A houseboat.
It's an odd purchase.
What a horrible existence that sounds like.
Oh, I disagree.
You know what? Really?
You want to live on a houseboat?
Better than a land house.
A land house? That is not what we call them.
I'd love to go to a realtor and say, yeah, I'm looking for a good land house.
I will say a houseboat seems like the thing that you would buy after a divorce. Like, she tries to take it from me. I'm going to float away. I'm out of here. I like you take it out of my cold, dead hands.
I just can't watch TV going up and down all day long. I want stable. I want stability. I want a land house.
In September 1995, Billy and some of his drinking buddies robbed a bank.
Oh, okay. Why not?
They were busted after making off with around $5,000. Split three ways, not a great investment. After hearing that Billy had been arrested, a team of detectives from Illinois traveled to Florida to see if there was anything Billy wanted to get off his chest. He ended up telling them everything. Billy said on the night of his parents' murder, he had gotten into a fight with his mother after coming home drunk. She said to him, yeah, don't worry about it. You're going to be shipped out to military school. I'm over it, you effing moron.
Oh, that's the exact quote?
That's the exact quote from the mother.
Yikes.
After drinking some whiskey and eating some psychedelic mushrooms, he said he simply decided he was going to get rid of his mom. Billy went to the closet where his father kept his guns, pulled out a 16-gauge semi-automatic shotgun, and loaded it. He went into his parents' bedroom where they were both sleeping, took the 16-gauge shotgun and put it to her head and went and pulled the trigger.
Oh, my God.
The sound of it obviously woke up his father, who was laying next to them. He looked at me and he said the trigger went off again. Billy had accidentally hit his father's lower jaw, though, which didn't kill him. So he decided to start beating him with the rifle. And then, quote, I didn't want him to be in effing misery, so I grabbed an effing knife and stabbed him.
Jeez.
When asked if he was sorry that his parents were dead, Billy responded yes and no. He said that while he was glad he didn't have to deal with them anymore, he expressed regret because it really effed up his sister Robin, who had passed away.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And
so by the way, there's nothing shady about her car accident then.
It was just like that spooky. Now, I know that she was very distraught. In 1996, Billy was found guilty on 2 counts of murder for killing his parents. 2 months later, Billy was sentenced to 2 consecutive 40-year prison terms. The judge, Victoria Rossetti, said she was disgusted she could not give him a life sentence. Billy isn't eligible for parole until 2035, when he will be 71 years old.
Kenzie's Krimes.
Milwaukee police found body parts in a North Side apartment.
Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
This is evil, what those people had done to me.
C says Heaven's Gate awaiting.
I'm not guilty.
Q101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Lauren coming in, take you through this not our hot day. But before we get there, let's do our takeaways. Your takeaways from today's show, the most memorable moments for you with Brian and Kenzie here on Q101. Case, what do you got?
Meredith checked in from Naperville. Brian's wife, Megan, didn't go to the Sarah McLachlan concert because she has Sarah McLachlan at home in the form of Brian.
In the
Oh my God. I think it could sound worse.
Do you want to give it one more shot?
I do. In the arms of an angel.
Wow.
How about
The
that?
cicada flying around the
That was a little odd.
I was doing the Stevie Nicks like that.
Going through puberty.
In the arms of an angel.
Jeez.
How does Stevie Nicks do that without shaking her head like that? Because I have to shake my head to go.
She's incredible.
It also doesn't sound like that.
That sounds just like Stevie Nicks. Do gypsy now.
Stand back. Stand back.
Are you okay?
I just hurt my
All
neck.
your chins are moving.
I just hurt
It's
my
weird.
neck really bad.
It looks like you're telling me to get off the grass. You look shaky. Oh, no.
All right, thanks for sending that takeaway in. Kenzie, what do you got?
Chef John, takeaway, land house, boathouse, roadhouse.
You have to go to Kenzie's Krimes, understand that one. And finally, from John 219, checking in from Indiana, my takeaway from today's show is Camel cigarettes are the choice of most doctors.
Amen.
Yeah.
In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" Once again, the brand named most was Camel.
Now, as Kenzie did a deep dive on this, it turns out back in the 50s, doctors were just given Camels for free.
They gave a bunch of doctors Camels and then said, "What cigarettes are you currently smoking?" After they handed them a pack, and then that was their research.
Camels.
Amen. Like this is slam dunk. 10 out of 10.
Kate, what's coming up on the podcast?
More talk about smoking in the 6 a.m. hour.
Don't do it. Don't start it.
Of course not.
We feel bad for the people that are addicted. You got to get off it somehow.
7 a.m., we poured one out for Marge Simpson. If you're a fan of The Simpsons, shocking information there. And then also, 8 o'clock, we talked about how Pearl Jam ruined somebody's long-term relationship, as well as Kenzie's Krimes. All that and more on the Brian and Kenzie podcast today.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.